At this time I was in Beijing and had an opportunity to have a brief discussion with the President of the United States. George told me that no one wants a war. I hoped that the U.S. administration would intervene to stop the aggression of the Georgian leadership, but nothing of this kind happened.
You've always enjoyed, over your period as President of Russia, and still now, a very close personal relationship with the US President George W. Bush. Do you think that his failure to restrain the Georgian forces on this occasion has damaged that relationship?
Of course it has damaged our relations, first and foremost, interstate relations. But the thing is not only that the U.S. administration has failed to restrain the leadership from committing this criminal act, but in fact equipped and trained the Georgian army. But I have some other comment to add. Even during the Cold War, during the time of tough confrontation between the Soviet Union and the United States, we have always avoided direct clashes between our civilians, let alone our servicemen. We have serious reasons to believe that directly in the combat zone, citizens of the United States were present. And if this is the case, then the suspicion arises that someone in the United States has on purpose created this conflict with a view to exacerbate the situation and create a competitive advantage for one of the presidential candidates in the United States.
These are quite astounding claims. Just to be clear, Mr. Prime Minister, are you suggesting that there were US operatives on the ground assisting Georgian forces, perhaps even provoking a conflict, in order to give a presidential candidate in the United States some kind of talking point? And if you are suggesting that, what evidence do you have?
Я вам сказал, что если подтвердятся факты присутствия американских граждан в зоне боевых действий...
I've told you that if the facts are confirmed that U.S. citizens were present in the combat zone, that it means only one thing, that they could be there only on the direct instruction of their leadership. And if this is so, then it means that American citizens are in the combat zone, performing their duties, and they can only do that following a direct order from their leaders and not on their own initiative. Ordinary experts, even if they are providing training in military matters, should do that, not in a combat zone, but at training ranges and training centers. I repeat, this needs to be further checked out. I'm telling you this based on what our military told me.
The danger to our country is grave. The danger to our country is growing. The Iraqi regime possesses biological and chemical weapons.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Nuclear weapons.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Will.
Our people are going to find out the truth, and the truth will say that this intelligence is good intelligence, no doubt in my mind.
There are a lot of people who lie and get away with it, and that's just a fact.
Weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Nope, no weapons over there.
President Bush has talked about our staying in Iraq for 50 years, maybe 100.
There's no doubt John McCain is going to be a war president. Can anybody see John McCain as sort of a peacetime Calvin Coolidge president? It's preposterous. His whole career is wrapped up in the military, national security. He's in Putin's face. He's threatening the Iranians. We're going to be in Iraq 100 years.
The Bush administration has built a new generation of nuclear weapons that we call usable nukes. And they have a nuclear, posture now which permits the preemptive use of nuclear weapons in a non-nuclear environment if the Commander-in-Chief deems U.S. forces to be at significant risk. If we start bombing Iran, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to work.
Bomb Iran? Bomb, 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 bomb. Anyway.
My concern is that we will use nuclear weapons to break the backbone of Iranian resistance, and it may not work. But what it will do is this. It will unleash the nuclear genie. And so for all those Americans out there tonight who say, you know what, taking on Iran's a good thing.
My friends, I know how to handle the Iranians, and I'll handle them.
And if we use nuclear weapons, the genie ain't going back in the bottle until an American city is taken out by an Islamic weapon in retaliation. So tell me, you want to go to war with Iran? Pick your city. Pick your city. Tell me which one you want gone. Seattle, LA, Boston, New York, Miami. Pick one, because at least one's going. And that's something we should all think about before we march down this path of insanity, 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 insanity.
The truth is that in national security terms, he's largely untested and untried. John McCain, this is what you're talking about. He's never been responsible for policy formulation. He's never had leadership in a crisis or in anything larger than his own element on an aircraft carrier or in managing his own congressional staff. It's not clear that this is going to be the strong suit that he thinks it is. McCain's weakness is that it's always been for the use of force and more force. In my experience, the only time to use force is as a last resort. When he talks about throwing Russia out of the G8 and makes ditties about bombing Iran, he betrays a disrespect for the office of the presidency.
And I'm sorry to tell you that we're going to be in further wars.
And we were in 2 wars today combating it, and there are other places in the world where we may have to.
These young people that are in this crowd, my friends, I'm going to be asking you to serve.
There's going to be more wars. There's going to be more wars.
We're in a greater struggle that is going to be with us for the rest of this century.
It's a tough war we're in. It's not going to be over right away. There's going to be other wars. I'm sorry to tell you, there's going to be other wars.
He will make Cheney look like Gandhi.